In 2011, Reed Hastings made a decision that cost Netflix $12 billion in market cap overnight. He announced the company would split into two separate services, Netflix for streaming and Quickster for DVDs. Customers revolted. The stock tanked. But here's what most people miss. The real mistake wasn't the strategy. It was how the decision was owned. You've probably felt this tension in your own business. You assign a critical project to a senior team member and it comes back half-baked. Not because they're incompetent, but because they treated it like a task, not an outcome. There's a gap between assigned work and owned work, and that gap is quietly killing your growth. Here's what's actually happening. Most leaders think they're delegating when they're really just distributing to-dos. You hand someone a list of steps and expect them to care as much as you do. But ownership doesn't come from a task list. It comes from three things: outcome clarity, decision rights, and risk acceptance. Outcome clarity means defining the finish line, not the path. Instead of redesign the onboarding emails, you define the outcome. Reduce churn in the first 30 days by 20%. Now the person isn't executing steps, they're solving a problem. Research on psychological ownership by Pierce and Jusila shows that when people feel a sense of control over an outcome, their intrinsic motivation and persistence skyrocket. They stop waiting for approval and start thinking like an owner. Decision rights are the second piece. If you still require every change to go through you, you haven't delegated ownership. You've just added a bottleneck. True ownership means they can change the process without your sign-off. At Xentro, I learned this the hard way. Early on, I assigned a team member to manage a key client account. I kept the strategy decisions for myself. The client felt the disconnect. Satisfaction scores dipped. Then I handed over full decision rights on that account, messaging, cadence, even budget within a guardrail. Within a quarter, the client's lifetime value jumped 35%. Not because I hired someone better, but because I finally let them own the outcome. The third element is risk acceptance. Ownership means feeling the weight of failure. If you shield your team from consequences, you rob them of the feedback loop that sharpens judgment. When you let someone make a call you wouldn't make, and they see the result, good or bad, they internalize the lesson far faster than any training. Here's the counterintuitive twist. Most founders think they're protecting the business by holding on to control. In reality, they're capping their own growth. A study from the Harvard Business Review found that leaders who delegate authority, not just tasks, are 30% more likely to scale past the seven-figure mark. Because when you're the only one making decisions, you become the ceiling. So this week, pick one delegated task. Ask yourself, does the person responsible have the authority to change the process without me? If not, have that conversation. Define the outcome, give them the keys, and accept that they might take a different route than you would. That's not risk, that's leverage. Hastings didn't fail because he had a bad idea. He failed because the ownership of that idea was never truly handed over. Don't let that happen to your next big move.